The vast chamber of the Galactic Concord fell silent as Talon, the Lyrian ambassador, approached the speaking platform. His translucent wings trembled slightly, catching the light from the artificial suns overhead. The assembled representatives from 100 worlds watched with varied expressions, some with sympathy, others with detached curiosity, and many with the careful blankness that indicated political calculation. Talon's people were known throughout the galaxy as artists and philosophers. Their slender forms and delicate features had evolved under the gentle radiation of their twin suns. Their world was a place of beauty and harmony, where violence had been eliminated thousands of years ago, which made them perfect targets for the Vorgons. "Honorable representatives," Talon began, his voice soft, yet carrying through the chamber. "3 days ago, the Vorgon Dominion launched a full invasion of Lyrian space. Our outer colonies have fallen. Millions of my people are dead or captured." Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Vorgons were known as conquerors, but they had never attacked a conquered member before. "We have no weapons to fight back," Talon continued. "Our ships are for exploration and trade, not war. Our people have no concept of battle tactics. We are being systematically destroyed." The Lyrian paused, composing himself. "The Concord Charter promises protection to all member worlds. We ask, no, we beg, for military assistance before my civilization is wiped from existence." The chair being of the Conquered, a tall, many-limbed creature from an ancient species, leaned forward. "This is most troubling, Ambassador Talon. The Concord will discuss this matter with the seriousness it deserves." For the next 3 hours, representatives debated. The Nelvorians cited trade agreements with the Vorgons. The Palax claimed their military was only for defense. The Mythalar regretted they were too far away to help in time. Talon stood silently through it all, hope fading with each excuse. Finally, the chair being spoke again. "The Concord deeply regrets the Lyrian situation. However, we cannot reach consensus on direct military intervention. We will issue a strong diplomatic protest to the Vorgon Dominion." A bitter laugh echoed through the chamber. All eyes turned to the back of the room, where the human delegation sat. Park Jiho stood up. Humans had only joined the Conquered 30 years ago, the newest members by far. Many species still viewed them with suspicion. Humans had evolved on Earth, classified as a death world, due to its high gravity, extreme weather, and abundance of predators. Their bodies were dense with muscle, their reactions quick, their minds adapted to spot threats and opportunities. "A diplomatic protest," Jiho said, shaking his head, "while an entire civilization dies." The chair being's upper limbs twitched with annoyance. "The human perspective is noted, Representative Park. However, military affairs are complex. They seem simple enough to me," Jiho interrupted, something rarely done in Conquered proceedings. "A member world is being attacked. They need help. The advanced worlds are too afraid to act." Angry murmurs filled the chamber. The human had broken protocol. "I am sorry, Ambassador Talon," the chair being said firmly. "The Conquered cannot offer military assistance at this time." Talon's wings drooped in defeat. As the Lyrian turned to leave, Jiho stepped into his path. "The Conquered may have failed you," the human said quietly, "but Earth might not." Later that night, in the privacy of the human embassy, Talon met with Jiho and the full Earth delegation. "You must understand," Jiho explained, "humans are new to space. Our fleet is small compared to older civilizations, but our ships are built for combat." "Why?" Talon asked. "The Conquered forbids war between members." "Old habits," Jiho said with a grim smile. "Our history is full of conflict. We prepared for the worst when we reached the stars." Another human, Namjuri, the military attaché, pulled up a holographic display. "The Vorgons have never faced humans in battle. They don't know what we can do." "But your fleet is so small," Talon said, hope warring with despair. "It's not the size that matters," Juri replied. "It's how the fleet is used and who uses it." Jiho touched a communication panel. The face of Admiral Kim Sumi appeared, stern and focused. Admiral, Jiho said, I'm with the Lyrian ambassador. Their people need our help. Admiral Kim's eyes shifted to Talon. Tell me everything about the Vorgon forces, numbers, positions, tactics. As Talon shared what little military information his people had gathered, he noticed something strange. The humans weren't afraid. Where other species saw impossibility, these Deathworlders saw a challenge. When Talon finished, Admiral Kim nodded, once. I'll take this to the Defense Council. If approved, the Earth Defense Fleet can deploy within 48 hours. The Vorgons have hundreds of warships, Talon said. How many can Earth send? Every ship we have, the Admiral replied without hesitation. That night, a single transmission left the conquered station, bound for Earth. As Talon watched the stars from his quarters, he wondered if humans truly understood what they might be, agreeing to. The Vorgons had conquered 12 species before. None had successfully resisted, but none of those species had evolved on a death world. The message from Conquered Station arrived on Earth, with highest priority markers. Within an hour, the Defense Council assembled in the underground war room beneath New Geneva. 12 men and women representing Earth's united government sat around a circular table as Admiral Kim Soo-mi presented the Lyrian situation. The Vorgons have already taken 3 Lyrian colonies, she explained, pointing to the star map. Their main fleet is moving toward the Lyrian home system. Based on their current speed, they will arrive in 9 days. Defense Minister Bae Ho-jin leaned forward. And the conquered refuses to help? They will send strongly worded messages, Admiral Kim said, not hiding her disgust. Nothing more. The room fell silent as the council members studied the data. Humans had met many alien species, since achieving faster-than-light travel, but they had never gone to war with any of them. This would be unprecedented. What do we know about Vorgon military capabilities? Asked General Ryu Min-ho, head of ground forces. Not enough, Admiral Kim admitted. They've conquered 12 non-conquered civilizations, but all were peaceful species, like the Lyrians. The Vorgons themselves evolved on a mid-gravity world with stable climate. They're not Deathworlders like us. And our fleet strength? Asked the defense minister. Kim displayed a new image showing Earth's complete military assets. We have 207 combat-capable ships. If we deploy everything, that leaves Earth with only automated orbital defenses. Many council members shifted uncomfortably at this idea. Earth had been united for only 50 years after centuries of war between nations. Old fears died hard. The Lyrians are asking us to risk everything for them, said Councillor Song Yoon-jae. Why should Earth's children die for aliens? We barely know? Admiral Kim looked at her steadily. Because no one else will help them. Because they asked. Because we can. The council debated for hours. Some argued for sending only a portion of the fleet. Others wanted to stay out of the conflict entirely. A few suggested using the situation to gain political advantage in the Concord. As the arguments continued, Fleet Captain Oh Jin-woo, who had been silent until now, stood up. He was the oldest person in the room, one of the few who had served in Earth's last global conflict before unification. I have seen enough war to know its cost, he said quietly, and the room fell silent. But I have also seen what happens when good people do nothing while others suffer. The Lyrians cannot fight. We can. If we turn away, what was the point of reaching the stars? To be like the other advanced species who watch suffering and do nothing. His words hung in the air. The council members looked at each other. We put it to vote, said Defense Minister Bae. All in favor of full deployment to assist the Lyrian people? One by one, hands raised. The vote was unanimous. 3 days later, Admiral Kim stood on the bridge of the EDF Indomitable, Earth's largest battleship. Through the view screen, she could see hundreds of ships arranged in formation, every combat vessel humanity possessed. All ships report ready, Admiral, said. Her communications officer, Lieutenant Yang Han-jae Kim, nodded. Send to all vessels. Operation Lyrian Shield is now active. Jump coordinates are locked. We move as one. Throughout the fleet, captains received the order. On the destroyer EDF Steadfast, Captain Moon Ji-young addressed her nervous crew, many of whom had never seen combat. Today we travel farther from Earth than any human military force in history, she told them. We go to defend those who cannot defend themselves. Remember your training. Trust each other. Make Earth proud. On the transport carrier EDF Horizon, Major Yoon Minji checked her powered armor one last time as her Marines prepared for possible ground combat. The soldiers were quiet, focused on equipment checks and weapon calibrations. Nervous? Asked her second-in-command, Lieutenant Shin Do-hyun. Not about the fighting, Minji replied. I'm wondering what these Vorguns will think when they meet their first humans. Do-hyun smiled grimly. They'll learn what happens when you threaten someone under our protection. Admiral Kim gave the final order. Across the fleet, jump drives engaged simultaneously. The fabric of space bent and parted as 207 ships, carrying over 30,000 men and women, vanished from Earth's orbit. In the Concord chamber, Representative Park Ji-ho received the news and immediately sought out Ambassador Talon. He found the Lyrian in the garden area, staring at holographic images of his homeworld. It is done, Ji-ho said simply. The entire Earth Defense Fleet has departed. They will reach Lyrian space in 4 days. Talon's wings trembled. Your people risk everything for mine. Why? Ji-ho considered the question. Humans evolved in a harsh world where danger was constant. We fought each other for centuries, but we learned something important along the way. Strength means nothing if not used to protect others. The Conquered believes your species is dangerous, Talon said quietly. We are, Ji-ho acknowledged. The Vorgans are about to discover just how dangerous humans can be when provoked. As he spoke, Earth's fleet hurtled through jump space toward its first interstellar conflict, ready to show the galaxy what happened when Deathworlders answered a call for help. The EDF Vigilant emerged from jump space at the edge of the Lyrian system. The sleek destroyer cut through the darkness like a blade, its sensors immediately scanning for threats. Captain Kang Hyun-woo stood on the bridge, hands clasped behind his back as he studied the tactical display. Report, he ordered. System entry successful, Captain, replied Navigator Jang Seo-jun. We're at the planned arrival point, 16 light minutes from Lyria Prime. The rest of the scout group will arrive in 30 seconds. Hyun-woo nodded. Admiral Kim's strategy was to send the fastest ships ahead to assess the situation before the main fleet arrived. 5 destroyers, including the Vigilant, would map Vorgun positions and create a safe entry corridor for the larger, slower battleships and carriers. Enemy contacts detected, announced Tactical Officer Nam Da-hee, her voice steady, despite this being her first combat mission. 3 vessels bearing 147. Configuration matches Lyrian intelligence on Vorgon scout ships. They've seen us, Hyun-woo said. Open a channel. The main screen flickered to life, showing a Vorgon officer. The alien had a hard exoskeleton, covering its upper body, with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected the light in metallic flashes. Unknown vessel, the Vorgon said through the translator. You have entered restricted space. Identify yourself immediately. Hyun-woo stepped forward. This is Captain Kang Hyun-woo of the Earth Defense Force vessel Vigilant. We are here at the request of the Lyrian government. The Vorgun Dominion is conducting illegal military operations against a Galactic Concord member world. We demand you withdraw your forces immediately. The Vorgun's mandibles clicked rapidly, their version of laughter. Earth? The primitive death world that recently joined the Concord? Your interference is unwelcome and futile. Retreat now, or be destroyed. We will not retreat, Hyun-woo replied calmly. This is your only warning. The Vorgon cut the transmission. Moments later, energy readings spiked on the Vorgon vessels. They're charging weapons, Da-hee reported. Hyun-woo took his command seat. Shields at maximum. Bring all weapons online. Alert the other destroyers. Prepare for combat maneuver Theta 6. The bridge crew worked with quick precision. Humans had not fought an interstellar war before, but their combat simulations had been built on thousands of years of military history. The first Vorgon energy beam lanced toward the Vigilant, but the destroyer was already moving, its engines pushing it into a role that the Vorgon targeting systems couldn't follow. The beam grazed the shields, causing them to flare but hold. "Return fire," Hyunwoo ordered. "Target their propulsion systems." The Vigilance main cannons fired in perfect sequence. The Vorgon ship tried to evade, but the human gunners had anticipated the maneuver. The energy bolts struck true, rupturing the alien vessel's engine housing. "Direct hit," Dahi reported. "Enemy ship 1 is disabled." By now, the other human destroyers had arrived. The Vorgons found themselves surrounded, their formation broken. Their weapons, designed to fight the passive defenses of peaceful species, struggled against ships built by a species that had refined the art of war for millennia. "They're attempting to call for reinforcements," Communications Officer Park Min-soo announced. "Should I jam their signal?" "No," Hyunwoo replied. "Let them call. I want the Vorgon fleet to know we're here." The battle lasted just 8 minutes. When it ended, 2 Vorgon ships drifted powerless, their systems overloaded by precisely targeted EMP weapons. The third ship was completely destroyed after it attempted a suicide run at one of the human destroyers. "Casualties?" Hyunwoo asked. "Minor. Injuries only, Captain," reported Medical Officer Kim Ye-jin. "Shields held at 60%. Hyunwoo allowed himself a small smile. "Send word to Admiral Kim. Enemy forces significantly underestimate our capabilities. The way is clear for the main fleet." 4 hours later, the rest of the Earth fleet arrived. From the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Kim surveyed the tactical display showing the positions of Vorgon forces throughout the Lyrian system. "They've concentrated their main fleet around Lyria Prime," she observed. "But they've left the colony on Lyria 3 lightly defended. That's our first target." Major Yoon Minji led the first ground forces to land on Lyrian soil. Her Marines deployed from dropships onto the surface of Lyria 3, a small colony world now occupied by Vorgon troops. The Lyrian cities, with their delicate crystalline architecture, showed signs of damage from the Vorgon invasion. "Move fast, stay low," Minji instructed her team through the helmet comm. "Remember, we're here to protect Lyrian civilians." The Marines advanced through the empty streets, their powered armor giving them strength and speed beyond natural human abilities. When they encountered the first Vorgon patrol, the aliens fired immediately. Energy bolts struck Lieutenant Shin Do-hyun's armor, leaving scorch marks but failing to penetrate. "Their weapons are weaker than we expected," Do-hyun said, surprised. "They've never needed anything stronger," Minji replied. Until now, the Marines returned fire. Their weapons, designed to function in Earth's varied and extreme environments, cut through the Vorgon's armor with ease. The aliens tried to adjust their tactics, but they moved with a sluggishness that betrayed their evolution on a gentler world than Earth. Within hours, the human forces had secured the main Lyrian settlement. The surviving Vorgons retreated in disarray, abandoning their positions and equipment. As the fighting subsided, Lyrian civilians emerged from hiding. They stared in wonder at the humans, shorter and stockier than themselves, moving with an energy and purpose the graceful Lyrians had never witnessed before. An elderly Lyrian approached Minji as she removed her helmet. "You are humans?" he asked hesitantly. "Yes," she replied. "We're here to help." "The Vorgon said no one would come," the Lyrian said, his wings trembling with emotion. "They said the Concord had abandoned us." Minji looked at the Lyrian city, then back to the old alien. "The Concord might have. Earth hasn't." As night fell on Lyria 3, news of the human victory spread through the system. The Vorgon High Command, who had dismissed the human fleet as a minor annoyance, now called an emergency council. And across 3 worlds, Lyrian civilians whispered a new word of hope. Deathworlders. Admiral Kim stood before the holographic display that filled the war room of the EDF Indomitable. The 3-dimensional map showed the entire Lyrian system, with red markers indicating Vorgon fleet positions and blue markers for human vessels. Around her stood her senior commanders, faces serious as they studied the tactical situation. "Vorgon main fleet has arrived," she said. 517 warships now in orbit around Lyria Prime. Our fleet of 200 is outnumbered more than 2 to 1. Captain Lee Taewon frowned. Their ships are larger than ours as well. Conventional tactics would say we should retreat. Conventional tactics assume conventional enemies, replied Commander Choi Yun-ha. The Vorgons have never fought humans before. They don't know what we can do. Admiral Kim nodded. Exactly. The Vorgons evolved on a stable world with few natural disasters or predators. Their military doctrine reflects this: methodical, predictable, overwhelming force. But we evolved on Earth, where adaptability meant survival. She touched the display, and the blue markers representing the human fleet split into 5 distinct groups. We will not fight as one fleet, she explained. We will fight as 5 independent task forces, each with its own mission. The Vorgons expect us to either retreat or charge directly into battle. We will do neither. The first phase of Admiral Kim's strategy began that same day. While the main Vorgon fleet waited in formation around Lyria Prime, expecting a frontal assault, human strike groups attacked their supply lines, fuel depots, and communication relays throughout the system. Task Force Hammer, led by Captain Moon Ji-young, used the gas giant Lyria 5 as cover to ambush Vorgon supply ships. Her destroyers emerged from the planet's radiation-filled magnetosphere, conditions that would kill most species but that the human crews had trained to endure. Enemy vessels detected, reported her tactical officer. They don't see us yet. Hold position, Moon ordered. Let them come closer. When the Vorgon ships passed the optimal point, she gave the command, all vessels attack pattern Sigma 3. The human ships surged forward, their engines flaring bright against the gas giant's swirling clouds. The Vorgon supply convoy, caught completely by surprise, scattered in confusion. Within minutes, 7 Vorgon ships were disabled, their valuable cargo now in human hands. On the other side of the system, Task Force Shield, under Captain Oh Jin-woo, protected Lyrian civilian evacuation ships. The elderly captain had positioned his cruisers in an asteroid field, using the dense rocks as both cover and weapons. Vorgon patrol approaching, his sensor officer reported. 3 heavy cruisers. Oh smiled. Spring the trap. Pre-positioned, engines attached to key asteroids suddenly fired, sending massive rocks hurtling toward the Vorgon vessels. The aliens, unprepared for the environment to be used as a weapon, lost 1 ship immediately to a direct impact. The remaining 2 broke. Formation exactly as O had planned. Target the ship to port, he ordered calmly. All batteries fire. On Lyria Prime itself, the situation was dire. The Vorgons had occupied the capital city, using it as their command center. The delicate spires and crystal domes of Lyrian architecture stood in stark contrast to the angular metal of Vorgon war machines. Commander Jeon Hae-jin led a small team of special forces operators who had infiltrated the city. Using stealth technology and their natural human endurance, they had spent 3 days moving through maintenance tunnels and air ducts, mapping Vorgon positions. Their command center is here, Hae-jin explained to her team, pointing to a holographic map projected from her wrist device. And they've never thought to guard these access points because no Lyrian could physically fit through them. But we can, said Sergeant Han Taijun with a grim smile. Exactly, Hae-jin replied. And even better, they've set gravity throughout the complex to Vorgon standard, about 80% of Earth normal. So we'll be faster and stronger than they expect, Han realized. That night, as the Vorgon commanders discussed strategies to counter the elusive human fleet, 6 human operatives slipped into their headquarters. Moving through the low gravity, with ease they planted disruption devices on key systems. When the devices activated simultaneously, the entire Vorgon command structure was thrown into chaos. Communication systems failed, security protocols crashed, and the artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Conditions that disoriented the Vorgons, but that the humans had specifically trained for. In orbit, the Vorgon fleet felt the effects immediately. Without clear commands from their leadership, ship captains fell back on standard protocols, exactly what Admiral Kim had anticipated. They're regrouping into defensive formation, reported her tactical officer, as the Indomitable observed from long range. Just as you predicted, Admiral, Kim nodded. Signal all task forces. Phase 2 begins now. As the human fleet continued its unconventional campaign, the Lyrians who had initially viewed the humans with awe now began to actively assist them. Lyrian scientists worked with human engineers to create weapons that combined Earth military principles with Lyrian technology. Lyrian civilians, inspired by human courage, formed resistance groups. In a hidden workshop beneath the Lyrian capital, Professor Rael, a leading Lyrian physicist, worked alongside engineering officer Quan Subin. Your weapons use simple chemical propellants, Rael observed, examining a human rifle. Yet they're remarkably effective. Sometimes the simple solution is best, Subin replied. Especially when the enemy expects something complicated. Together, they designed devices that altered localized gravity fields. Trivial for Lyrians but devastating to the unprepared Vorgons. When these devices were deployed by human strike teams, Vorgon troops found themselves suddenly weighing 3 times their normal weight or floating helplessly, their combat training useless in these conditions. As the third week of fighting began, Vorgon Supreme Commander Garthex called his senior officers together. These humans fight like no species we have encountered, he snarled, mandibles clicking in frustration. They do not follow predictable patterns. They use environments we cannot survive. They endure conditions that should kill them. They are Deathworlders, one officer replied. But they are still outnumbered. We should concentrate our forces and crush them with one decisive blow. Garthex nodded. Recall all ships. We will form our entire fleet into one formation and destroy these humans once and for all. Unbeknownst to him, this was exactly what Admiral Kim had been waiting for. The massive Vorgon fleet gathered into a tight formation around Lyria Prime, 500 warships arranged in concentric rings. Supreme Commander Garthex watched from his flagship, the Dominion's Fist, as the final vessels took their positions. The humans have scattered their forces throughout the system, his second-in-command reported. Their main fleet strength is nowhere to be found. They are hiding, Garthex said with satisfaction. Now we will hunt them down one group at a time. At that moment, on the bridge of the EDF Indomitable, Admiral Kim received the confirmation she had been waiting for. All Vorgon ships have consolidated around Lyria Prime, reported her tactical officer. They've fallen for it. Kim nodded. Send the signal. Operation Trojan begins now. Throughout the Lyrian system, human vessels that had appeared to be damaged or destroyed in previous engagements suddenly powered up. These ships had been carefully positioned over the past 3 weeks, playing dead while specially trained crews remained in hibernation to avoid detection. This is captained by Jun Seo of the EDF Relentless. All boarding teams prepare for deployment. Jun Seo's light cruiser had been crippled in an early battle and left drifting near Lyria Prime. The Vorgons had scanned it, detected no life signs thanks to the hibernation chambers, and ignored it as a wreck. Now, as the ship silently approached the outer edge of the Vorgon formation, 30 elite soldiers prepared in the launch bay. Similar scenes played out on 15 other dead human ships, strategically positioned throughout the Vorgon fleet. In the heart of the Vorgon formation, 3 transport ships marked with Vorgon identification codes moved into position. These vessels had been captured intact during earlier raids and now contained not supplies but human marines in powered armor. Approaching Vorgon flagship, whispered Navigator Hong Jimin aboard one of the transports. Their scanners are checking us. Major Yoon Minji steadied her breathing inside her armor. Maintain course and speed. Act like you belong. The captured transport was cleared by Vorgon security and directed to a docking bay on the massive flagship. As soon as the airlock sealed, Minji gave the signal. Go! The bay doors of the transport burst open and 50 Marines charged out, catching the Vorgon security team completely by surprise. These were not the fragile Lyrians the Vorgons were used to fighting, but humans who had trained their entire lives in Earth's punishing gravity. Similar assaults began across the Vorgon fleet as the hidden human ships launched their attacks. The Vorgons, having concentrated their forces for a major offensive, now found enemies materializing inside their defensive formation. On the Dominion's Fist, Alarms blared as internal sensors detected weapons fire. Intruders on multiple decks. A panicked officer reported to Garthex. How did they get aboard? Before the Supreme Commander could respond, the main view screen activated. Admiral Kim's face appeared on displays throughout the Vorgan fleet. Attention all Vorgan vessels. Your fleet has been infiltrated. Surrender now, and we will spare your lives. Garthex slammed his fist on the command console. Never. All ships, fire on the nearest human vessel. But as the Vorgon fleet prepared to attack, the rest of the human forces sprang their final trap. The main Earth fleet, which had been hiding in the chromosphere of Lyria's sun, a hiding place no Vorgon ship could survive, suddenly emerged and accelerated toward the Vorgan formation. All ships execute attack plan Omega, Admiral Kim ordered from the Indomitable. Target their command and control systems. The human fleet hit the disorganized Vorgon formation like a spear. Meanwhile, aboard the Vorgon ships, the boarding ensued. Teams fought their way toward critical systems. Captain Bei Junseo led his team through the corridors of a Vorgon heavy cruiser. The aliens fought desperately, but they couldn't match the speed and strength of humans fighting in what felt to them like low gravity. They've sealed the engine room, reported Sergeant Anmi Ray as they reached a massive blast door. Junseo nodded. Use the breaching charges. The specialized explosives designed by human and Lyrian engineers not only blew the door open, but also created a gravitational pulse that sent the Vorgon defenders flying across the room. As battle raged throughout, the fleet, Major Yun Minji and her team fought their way to the bridge of the Dominion's fist. The Vorgon defenders grew more numerous as they approached, but the humans pressed forward relentlessly. Last corridor, Minji told her team as they prepared to breach the command center. Remember your training. The Marines burst onto the bridge in perfect formation, their weapons dropping Vorgon officers before they could react. Only Supreme. Commander Garthex remained standing, drawing a ceremonial blade as he faced the humans. So this is what Deathworlders look like up close, he said, mandibles clicking. Primitive, but effective. Minji removed her helmet, meeting the alien's compound eyes with her own. Surrender your fleet, Commander. This war is over. Why? Garthex demanded. Why would your species risk everything for the Lyrians? They are nothing to you. Because they asked for help, Minji replied simply. And on Earth we learn early that strength means nothing if not used to protect others. For a moment Garthex seemed to consider fighting, but then slowly lowered his weapon. The Vorgan Dominion has never surrendered before. There's a first. Time for everything, Minji said. Throughout the Vorgon fleet, similar scenes played out as human boarding teams secured critical systems. What had begun as a simple invasion of a defenseless world had turned into the greatest defeat the Vorgon Dominion had ever known. 3 days later, in the restored Lyrian capital, Ambassador Talon stood before a gathering of both his people and the human forces who had saved them. When we begged for help, he said, his voice carrying across the Crystal Plaza, the galaxy turned away, except for Earth. The humans answered our call not just with ships and weapons, but with courage we had never witnessed. Admiral Kim stepped forward to sign the formal alliance between Earth and Lyria. Today marks a new chapter in galactic history, she said. Let it be known throughout the stars what happens when Deathworlders answer a call for help. In the galactic, Concord Chamber, the news of the Vorgon defeat spread rapidly. Species that had dismissed humans as primitive now viewed them with new respect, and some with new fear. Representative Park Ji-ho stood before the Concord, his voice steady. Humanity did not evolve in gentle conditions. Earth shaped us to survive, against all odds. But it also taught us something the Concord seems to have forgotten, that the strong must protect the weak, or strength has no meaning. The message was clear. The galaxy now understood. When aliens begged for help, Deathworlders had answered with a fleet of fury, and the stars would never be the same again. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.